Hello everyone, it's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. I thought we'd try something a little different today because I'm training for the OC Marathon and have to do a lot of these long, boring runs. And today's video has no visuals. I'm just going to talk about stuff. So I thought this might be a little bit more interesting to look at than just watching me talk in the study. We probably won't do too many of these, honestly. But mainly I wanted to talk about the end of the interview with Chris Anthony. So I broke that up into 4 parts because I thought that would make it a little bit easier to digest. And we covered a lot of stuff in there. But I really wish I could record the last part of the interview, because at the end, when I stopped recording, Chris and I talked for another 15-20 minutes or so, and that was probably the most interesting part of the whole interview. And just to protect confidentiality and information that probably isn't public, I'm going to just talk about it in generalities and not specifics. But I'll let you know kind of some interesting things I found out. Okay, so the most interesting thing I found out was that Aptera has turned down big investors. As many of you guys suggested, that there was a lot of money offered and Aptera turned it down. And initially I thought it was because they wanted the investors wanted control of the company. But I think Chris and Steve have learned their lesson from their go around back in like 2008, 2010. And they've engineered it so that they aren't going to lose control of the company. So that wasn't the issue. Mainly, the big money came with a lot of other stipulations attached, which were related to like supply chain and maybe vehicle design issues. Anyways, they felt like the stipulations associated with the big money investors was that it would impact the integrity of the product and hurt the company. So they have turned those down, which I thought was a really good thing, because one of the things that the skeptic inside of me had thought about was maybe the big investors are not investing because they are more sophisticated and they know things that we don't know, and that the smart money is not investing. And then we have in the crowdfunding a bunch of people that are, you know, not as financially sophisticated investing in a company when the big money is walking away from it. But it turns out that that's not the case. The big money is interested in it. I think they just feel like when they're going to put in tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, they want to control some aspect of it, which makes sense from their standpoint. But anyways, they have turned down money, and there are still deals in the works. We don't know the details of them, but there are still some deals in the works with bigger investors. And there's 2 main ways that they're going to get to the amount of funding they need to get to high volume production. One is debt financing, and we talked about that. So debt financing has the advantages of not causing shareholder dilution. So those of us who've already invested, our shares will not be diluted with more equity. But it has a downside of, you know, you have to pay interest, and interest rates are pretty high. Now, the question I had was, how is a bank or an investment bank going to invest money in such a high-risk startup like a automobile or vehicle startup, which has, you know, as everyone understands, a very high chance of going bankrupt? And so any bank is going to be not willing to invest their money and lose all their principal when the company goes under. But what I was told is, and he kind of mentioned this several times about how they found out that their IP is pretty valuable. They had their intellectual property evaluated, and it was worth way more than they need to get to high volume production. So they can use that as collateral and get debt financing. So that's definitely on the table, and that is an option that is open to them. But what I was told is that if you take on too much debt financing, the equity financing, people do not like that. I'm not a finance guy, so I don't really understand why that is. Maybe it's because people that want to invest in the company do not want to invest in a company that has a lot of debt to them, because probably that means if the company has problems, I believe that the people that hold the debt are first in line to getting any assets of the company when they liquidate or declare bankruptcy. So it's a fine balance between how much debt financing they get, or if they go to equity financing. And equity financing has the advantage of not having to pay interest and to service a debt obligation, but it has the downside of some shareholder dilution. So anyways, there is many pathways, like they talked about, to getting to production, and it seems like they have some large investors that are still in play, and they're going through the nitty-gritty of it, and hopefully those pan out. But it's possible that those will turn out to be having too many strings attached again and will fall through at the end. But the debt financing will 100% happen, or can happen, and the equity financing through some investment banks is in the works as well. So they have a lot of pots on the fire, which I think is good. Now, about pricing, that's something we didn't talk about off the record anymore, but my take on the situation is I believe that because of inflation, most of the component parts have gotten more expensive, and I suspect that especially at low volume, the CPC parts are more expensive than the honeycomb that they were going to do in-house. Now, once they scale to large-scale production, that may turn out to be cheaper over economies of scale. But currently, most parts of the vehicle are more expensive than they were 3 years ago. And the only thing that's gone down in price is probably batteries. Now, batteries are a significant portion of the cost of any electric vehicle, but I suspect that they think that the price is going to come in somewhat higher than they have on their website. Because I'm pretty sure if they were confident that it was cheaper, they would be talking about it right now. But I may be wrong. This is totally my guessing on what's happening. So I don't know how much they're going to increase the price, but I think I would expect some increase in price. But they are, I really like their commitment to be very transparent about their costs and make the pricing in such a way that they make a reasonable small profit and stay solvent, yet try to deliver the cheapest vehicle they can to us. And as production goes on, the pricing will probably go down, which I think is probably good news for most of the later reservation holders. I think the initial accelerator people may pay a slightly higher price, which in a way is opposite of what you would want. I guess like you would want the early adopters to get a price break for being early adopters, but I suspect that if the production ramps up, then the prices will fall down because suppliers will be able to give them supplies for less cost. But I see why they're doing that, and I think most of the accelerators are going to pay a small price premium, and they're going to be okay with that. And most of them are investors, and they want the company to succeed for their investment. So that's going to be okay with them.
All right, thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.